Thanks everybody for joining us. We're joined here with Sergeant Charles Searcy from the Montrose County Sheriff's Office. He's going to talk to us about a very unusual incident that happened recently. Sergeant, thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened the other night with this unusual marsupial hopping around in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. So just on routine patrol, handling routine calls, and then the call comes out of I think it came out as a livestock call or an animal problem or some animal stray maybe. And it was, they said either a kangaroo or a wallaby was running down the road. Obviously, they're not native here. And so that caught my suspicion, and I started heading that way. The other deputies were busy on other calls at that time. And so I drew the lucky straw, and that's what I found when I got there.
How about that? And we actually got a copy of that dispatch call. Why don't we go ahead and take a quick listen?
Alaska Dispatch, this is Jennifer. How can I help you?
Yeah, there's a kangaroo loose on JJ Road. Or a wallaby. It's much smaller than a kangaroo. I would guess wallaby.
Okay.
Not a prank phone call, I swear to God. I'm looking right at it.
No, you're good. That's just not something that we get every day.
No.
Sergeant, can you tell us when you first got that call, what was going through your mind?
Several different things. I think one of the things I said to dispatch is because they said a wallaby or a kangaroo. I said, well, I don't know the difference between the two of them, so it doesn't really matter. And I started heading that way. And then, of course, everything else runs. You know, we don't have kangaroos here. We don't have wallabies here. So what are there drugs involved? Somebody seeing something? Who knows what we're going to? In fact, a Colorado State Patrolman was in the area, and he heard the same thing, and he was thinking the same thing of what we're going to a drug call. If somebody's having hallucinations, somebody's doing something. And so when I first got there, obviously I was even skeptical when I got out of the truck. The reporting party came and right away was like, here's a picture of it. We're not crazy. And then I actually saw it and it's like, wow, okay.
Once you finally spotted the animal, about how long did it take you to finally get it back in its proper enclosure?
Yeah, we were there probably 10 or 15 minutes, trying to figure out a plan, trying to figure out how to catch this thing or corner it. And then a gal had showed up and asked if we had seen a wallaby. Obviously, we were looking for that wallaby, so we told her, somebody had told her, and then she got out and started helping us. All together, it was, I'm guessing, 45 minutes to an hour that we were chasing this thing before it finally started heading back home.
And can you describe what it looked like? What was it doing?
Yeah. So he was just hopping around. You could obviously tell he was scared. He wasn't acting mean or anything like that. We didn't want to frighten him any more than we could. And we didn't want to hurt him. And so we tried to keep him calm as much as we can with the owner there, but even with the owner, he wouldn't go to the owner. And so we just continued to follow it and continued to try to grab him when we could, when he was calmed down. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. He kept running around. We're in Western Colorado where there's lots of agriculture, and there's cornfields and bean fields and everything else. And he luckily stayed out of those. He did get into the irrigation ditch, a small irrigation ditch one time, and I think it felt good for him. And then once he got onto the roadway, that's when we really got worried because of traffic. You know, you never know. I mean, I think it was 9 o'clock at night or something. So we turned on our overhead lights, myself and the state patrolman, and we just kind of pushed him down towards his house, and he slowly went that way. And then you could tell a light came on and he figured out where he was. And then he went really fast, and then darted into his yard. So, and right back to his enclosure.
Wow. And what was going through your mind as you're kind of chasing him around?
It was a complete joke the whole time. Basically, we were trying to have fun with it. And the people that were helping us were great. And then State Patrol, obviously, I've known him for a long time. And so we laughed a lot. And then once we got him in, of course, we had to get a picture with him. I mean, that's always worth it.
Yeah, it's a pretty great picture, I gotta say. And so, as you said, I mean, a wallaby, this is an Australian animal, obviously not native to Colorado. So certainly something you haven't seen before, I could assume?
Besides at a zoo, correct. Yeah. I would say that's the only place I've ever seen one.
So was it a surprise to you then?
Oh, absolutely. I think to everybody, it was the biggest surprise is it was actually a wallaby and that it came out as, so many times we get calls that people say it's something completely different. We've had calls of rattlesnakes, but it turns out to be a bull snake. Or one time we had a deputy respond to a salamander call, but it got called out as an alligator, and it was just a little baby salamander. So, we're used to things like that. So I wasn't expecting to see a wallaby, even though it came out as that.
Wow, how about that? So what was the story about it then? How did this woman come to have a wallaby, and why did it get out?
So it sounds like it is a pet. It sounds like, and I looked at the enclosures and everything once I was there, and very well cared for animal, lots of food and space and everything else. You could tell it's very loved and taken care of. And it sounds like he is a pet, so he does get to hop around the yard a little bit. And he might have, who knows, might have got chased by a dog or got spooked or just got lost. Who knows? And so I don't think it was by anybody's really wrongdoing, except maybe not keeping an eye on the wallaby a little bit closer, but definitely wasn't neglected or anything like that.
Well, that's certainly comforting to hear. So how did things end up finally at the end of the night?
So we dropped we got him into his cage, if you want to call it. I hate to call it a cage, his enclosure, and then spoke with the owner and then the reporting party, and then I actually gave the two people that were helping us catch this wallaby a ride back to the house, because we were probably a quarter mile away or a little more from their residence, and they had walked as we were in our vehicles. And so we give them a ride back, and they were pretty thrilled that was their first time in a police car also, and chasing a wallaby at the same night. So it was a good night for them.
Quite an adventure.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it was a fun night. We don't get a whole lot of humor and things where we can laugh it off. And still today, I went into work for a little bit this morning, and the jokes kept coming. So I'm sure I won't hear the end of it for a while.
That's great. Any other things you'd like to add about this whole experience that you think is important for people to know?
One thing I was kind of in shock with, if you will, is so in Colorado, I can't find any statute against exotic animals, really. It's up to the counties and the cities, from what I gather, to have ordinances and things such as that. So that was surprising. And I've got that question a lot, like, well, how does somebody get a wallaby? And I looked it up, and you get on the internet and get a wallaby, which is, fine with me. I have no issue either way. It was shocking that there wasn't something.
Wow, how about that? Go figure. So what's next for you then? Another Australian pursuit?
I hope not. I hope it's a quiet night tonight, and everybody goes home safe.
Absolutely. Sergeant, thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it. And if you want to see more about his experience, you can just check out this story on our website, cbsdenver.com. Thanks so much.